My name is Ralph Richards, ECNL Director and Team Coach for the SLSG Missouri ECNL Girls 0001. For me, it's been close to my heart. I've been at the club now 6 years, going on 7, and this group of girls have been around me, this team has been around me since I started. So my first experience with these girls was back out there on Field 5, and I remember specifically doing a 3-team transition game, and after that session I was like, I honestly remember going to Sterling, this group has got a lot of potential. Just from my time in Indiana and what I'd seen with 13-year-old girls, and these girls were still 12, I thought their technical and tactical decision-making, technical ability was really cool and really good to see, and I was excited to kind of see how this group kind of evolved over the years. So my first experience on the game field with the U12s was Sterling asked me to cover an event. And so we took the team into a spring classic. The group kind of performed really well. They won the event, and it was just a fun experience for me to be a part of. And then it was after that Scott asked me to kind of take over the group moving into U13. Brought in some additional players. At the time when I first was around the group, there was only 4 players there that are currently with us right now. So that's Olivia Layden, Natalie Jackson, Abby Miller, and Lily Schneiders. And then at U13, we added in some different players. Gretchen Skoglund joined the group from our premier, so we moved her up. Brought us power in a forward and a goal scoring forward, and it was something that group needed. And then along with Emma and Sammy. So Emma Christinell came from us from JB, and Sammy joined us from Norco. Both of them had great technical ability. Sammy was an energetic and an enthusiastic young little player, and has grown on to be one of the best left backs I've ever coached. And Emma Christinell herself was composed midfielder. Her and I have had some challenging times, if you will, of transitioning her from a midfielder to a defender, which she has done a tremendous job over the last several years now, and is probably one of the most composed, best decision-making centre-backs that I've coached here in the club. So both of them have brought great qualities to the team. Spotting was our rivalry, if you will, in the U13 age group as pre-ECNL team, and we just they just had some players that we struggled to deal with, and so I would say that team was they had our number, but it was certainly a group that we felt, and our girls felt like they one day would like to play them again and see if they could change the tune on how they responded in that game. We transitioned into U14, and there were a couple of different players that come to mind. Sid Ernst was a player at Lou Fuse who joined the group. Dynamic forward, scored goals, very athletic, could take people on, serve the ball and finish, and just a really good athletic kid. And so we asked if she wanted to be a part of the team. And then Mick Liley, who came from Jackson, coached by Heather Nelson down there. And we'd been talking with Mick for a few years, and finally she wanted to be a part of the group. So adding those 2 young ladies to the group just made us even more stronger. And that probably really kind of helped the group to go on and challenge Sporting to basically qualify for the national championship. And it was all the way to the last game of the season out here on Soccer Park Field 1. It's probably at that time one of the memorable moments for me, a favorite moment, because it was pouring down rain. It was just one of those tight 0-0 games. We finally got the 1-0, the 1 goal, and we won the game. And the the smiles and the joy on the faces, the emotions on the girls was just amazing for me to see and also be a part of. And the coach that was with me at the time, Scott Higgins, his daughter was on the team. Both girls were on the team, actually, Caitlin and Hannah. And it was just a really good moment to see everything come together. And that took us into a new chapter. And that was the first team in our history to have a team at U14 advance to the national championship. We had to make some really tough decisions, some really hard decisions for me as a coach, and Scotty was with me, and we had to ask a couple of girls that we felt that needed more playing time to, go to a different team in the program, take a step back, if you will, from the ECNL and play for our premier program at the time. A couple of players still continue to come to Seattle with us, so they were willing. Natalie Jackson performed admirably over the 3 games in Seattle, that she earned the right for me to go up to her and ask for her to stay on the team and remain on the ECNL, which for me was a really learning moment as a coach, to see a young girl that had 2 weeks earlier found out that she was asked to be pushed down, if you will, or asked to go down to a different team, and then 2 weeks later, because she was committed to fight and work hard, she was willing to accept the spot back on the ECNL. And so that was a really good learning moment for me. At the same time, that same 2-week window was also a learning moment for these young ladies. It was the first time that this group had ever played some of the best teams, 16 best teams in the country, and they were paired with 3 really challenging opponents. A Crossfire group, which was game 3, Stars of Massachusetts out of Boston, which we got beat in a very close game in day 1, 2-1. And then we played Surf, and we got heavily beaten. It was 7-0. It was a very challenging game for the players and the coaching staff. A lot of tears, as you can imagine. And I think for the girls, that was probably the hardest game that they've ever been a part of because of that. But I also found out that day, one of the hardest moments for me as a coach was dealing with one of my players coming up to me and telling me that she was done, telling me that she didn't want to be a part of the group anymore on the team. She just was wanting a different look in life, and soccer was not a part of that at that moment. To me, that was tough. But I also think for this group, it was one of the biggest and greatest moments. It brought them together. It unified them more. I could see the pride and the passion between the girls and the chemistry. And quite honestly, it was a really good moment in their lives, but a very challenging moment for me as a coach to deal with that. With that said, she continued to play through the weekend. We finished on a high, on a really good result. We got the ability and the chance to have a rematch against Surf. And that was, once we found out about that moment, the girls couldn't talk and couldn't think about anything else but that game. And it was in Phoenix, first time the girls had ever been in Phoenix. And they had a chance to play that team. And I have never seen a team fight, commit, play hard, compete. There was so much passion, there was so much pride out there. There was so much togetherness and unity in their performance. And it was, to me, as a coach, the proudest moment I've been of a team. Scotty and I today, we talk about it as one of the biggest moments in the club's history, because it's taken us to a different level of where the club and the program wants to go. The proudest moment that season was against the Surf, but one of the hardest moments in that same season was their last game of the season. It was in the final against Matchfit. We qualified through, we felt really good going into the game. Unfortunately, we couldn't pull it together and win the championship. But I think it came down to the end. And when I saw the girls walk off, there was tears, there was hugs and kisses between the parents and their daughters and their dads and the moms, and it was because it was the end of an era for that group, and I was a part of that too. And And for me, it was really hard to see the families kind of be separated a little bit. But at the same time, again, it was also a learning moment for these girls that this game and their togetherness and the unity really means a lot. And they've created friendships for lifetimes. And we wouldn't want it any other way. But at that time, it was probably one of the hardest moments. Birth year came, and so because of that, it divided the age groups up. Majority of the girls, or the 01s, went in one team, and the 00s went to a different team, and so they went down different paths. Because of that, there was changes within every roster in the club, and that brought us, in the 00s, we needed to find another goalkeeper, and so Abby Tucker was graciously wanted to come over, wanted to fight for a spot with us. Unfortunately for Abby, she was injured early on in her season here. That took her out of the team for about a good year, and it made it a challenge for Abby to really get back to it until this year, which is now she's back playing again fully. And then the other 00 was Hadley Citron. Hadley was a player that was in the club, and her team moved to a different club. She's came back, wanted to be a part of what we were doing in the ECNL, and both those two girls made really good contributions to the 00 team. In the 01 team, we added Lindsay Rigiasso, Sarah Hogenkamp, and Anna Walsh. All three of those girls added tremendous quality and great human beings to the team. In fact, the 5 of the girls who are now all on the 0001 team at U18-19 have really improved and enhanced the culture. Have bought into the culture, and quite honestly, that was all Scotty and I ever wanted. Girls that would come in would really buy into what we were trying to do in the ECNL at such late days in their careers, in their youth careers. So all 5 girls have been great additions to the program, to their teams, and now all graduating here in the class of 2019. Because of the birth year, the oldest team is the U18-19, and that's the first time that these girls could come back to play together. So it was, as a coach, it was great for me to be a part of this group coming back together for the first time since, well, one, that match fit game, but because I'd been around them since U12, U13, it felt really good. It felt like I wanted to be a part of their final club season, if you will, before going off to college, because they were a part of my first season here in St. Louis. So I was excited to see the growth of where these girls had come over the 5-6 years and what they could do at U18-19. The season has been great. It's had its ups and downs like all seasons do. We've had some great results and performances against Vardar come to mind, Kansas come to mind. We've had our performances that we know we could have done better. The most recent one against Michigan Hawks, who are a great club, and also EGA, who are sitting #1 in the table. Right now, we're sitting 3rd, and we're having this conversation, this interview, 2 hours, if you will, before our final practice. I get to train these girls one last chance in the pouring down rain, it looks like, to get them prepared for one final game, one final run out, one final time they will share the field with me, and hopefully we will create another moment or another memory that we can remember and add to this collection of great memories. I wanted to give a shout out to many of the coaching staff that have had a great influence on these girls' lives. Many of these coaches have been within the club, and a few of the coaches are outside of the club. Gary Miller coached the girls at a younger age, along with Jim Taylor, Paul Thibodeau, Greg Evers, Sean Walsh, Mike Elam, Rick Rash, Heather Nelson, and Sterling Westcott. Along with those several coaches, Scott McDaniel has certainly had his influence with these girls at U15, U16, and going in a little bit into the U17 and helping myself coach them at U18 as well. Scott Higgins, you weren't recognized in that coaching because you, to me, are a friend, a good father to your daughters, and one of the best coaches I've been able to coach with. Thank you for your time. I'm sure you'll get to see this video at some point. And thank you to Lloyd Schneiders, the manager of this team. He has been there and helped me tremendously behind the scenes. And the last final shout out I wanted to do is to the parents of all the girls. I want to thank you so much for your loyalty, your dedication, your commitment to not only the club, but to myself, Scotty, and the ECNL program as a whole. If there's one final message I can give you, young ladies, as you kind of play your final game and go on into your high school seasons and then go on and beyond, I would say be committed every day. Don't ever look back at one day. Don't ever go, well, I wish I could have done this. Live life, be true to yourself, and push yourself for greatness, both on and off the field. If you do that, you will enjoy your life, and you will, people around you will enjoy you as well. Good luck, guys.